All set. I'll call the July 10th Highway Committee meeting to order. Was the meeting properly noticed?
Yes, it was.
Stand for the pledge, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call show that all committee members are present. And approval of agenda. Motion been made and seconded to approve the agenda. Is there any discussion? Not all in favor, say aye. All opposed, motion carried. Approval of minutes of the 6/12 meeting. For a second. Okay, motion been made and seconded to approve the minutes from 6/12. Is there any discussion on that? Not all in favor, say aye. All opposed, motion carried. I don't think we have anybody signed up for public participation, do we? No. Discuss and or act on resolution to authorize Adams County Highway Department to accept LRIP grant funds for the reconstruction of County Z from State Highway 82 to Duck Creek Bridge. Pat?
Yes, Mr. Chair, as stated, that the resolution indicates that is here for the purpose of receiving and accepting the monies provided. It'll be used towards our County Z project on this first one here as indicated.
Okay. Phil? Okay. Motion by Phil, second by Kenny. Is there any discussion? Not all in favor, say aye. All opposed? Motion carried. Same again, resolution to authorize Adams County Highway Department to accept LRIP grant funds for the reconditioning of County Highway XX and from State Highway Columbia County line to State Highway 23.
Mr. Chair, like
Yes.
Same program, same process. Just it's a formality for us.
Yep.
For our policy documents that
Yep.
these resolutions be done. So.
Motion's been made. Is there a second? Seconded by Ken. Is there any other discussion? Not all in favor, say aye. All opposed, motion carried. Discussion items, County Highway Z, State 82 to Duck Creek Bridge and award, bid and award. Pat or Cynthia? Pat.
Okay, Mr. Chair, yeah. So as noted on our agenda here, there's a series of items listed for discussion. These items have all been, I guess, for lack of, well, they've been acted on and are for the most part in progress. So starting with the first one here, County Z State Highway 82 to Duck Creek Bridge. If you were to go back and look at my notes here, I provided a log of the activity that took place for this project. So, of course, it went out to bid. That was in February. In March, we opened the bids, met with administrator. Later in March, the contract was signed and executed. Again, later in March, on the 26th, we executed the construction oversight agreement. What you're looking there at on the screen is the bid tab for the projects. And then on 4/7, if you were to go back, you would see there was some discussion that took place at the committee level. And then on 6/12, work begins on the project. I guess questions on that portion so far?
I still haven't been led in the direction of why we aren't accepting these bids as a committee and why the administrator is the only one that's accepting the bids on our behalf. I shouldn't say on our behalf because we have given no direction on any of these bids.
Go ahead, Pat.
Would you like me to try to answer?
Yep.
So, please, committee and folks in the room, administrator, if I misquote myself or misspeak, please cut me off. What has transpired, under the new form of governance that we have, when we transition from administrative coordinator to administrator, the highway committee now becomes a policy-making body. The execution of contracts and things of those nature, such as this, moves to the administrator and the commissioner's desk. And again, am I stating that correctly?
Mr. Chair.
Yeah, go ahead.
So I'll just offer some, because I'm trying to find a middle ground, because I do want this committee to be happy with the way things are kind of moving forward. What was expressed to me, the reason this form of government is set up is for efficiency's sake. But at the same time, it's a culture shock to this committee to not have approval for the projects. So I met with Supervisor West and Supervisor Carlson to kind of figure out, you know, how to kind of communicate something that kind of works in favor of, so the committee still has some input as far as projects before they're officially signed off on. So going forward, the plan is to, I mean, it's still going to be, there's going to be an open bid process. So, you know, they're sealed bids. It's going to be a more formal process that will be put on the county calendar, and it'll invite committee members and board members and public to attend the opening. It's an official opening. You know, you have no input. You kind of just sit and you watch this, you know, the seal being broke, and then the contents of each package then being identified, and some other one is taken, like a scribe writes what contents were involved in this packet. So at least that process too, you will be involved to see, you know, these bids coming in. Okay. So there's that. The next step is Pat and I are going to meet. We're going to look at the lowest. Obviously, I'm going to listen to Pat. You know, he has great input. I don't think that there was any projects that were presented by Pat to this committee that were ever denied. Like, you've always kind of gone with what Pat recommended anyway. So this process, so now it involves Pat and I working together on determining, you know, the award. But before that is officially done, I do want it to come to the committee. And it gives this committee some input. So even though we, you know, the authorization is here, I still want your input, because there may be something that, you know, Supervisor Bork may know about a certain situation, may want to have input, or someone has some information about a particular vendor that needs to be shared. If the committee is not in favor of, and we get the impression that you're not, that will be taken into consideration. And then, of course, that decision will probably go that way. But at least that way, this committee still has a input. And it's kind of dealing with this culture shock. And we'll eventually kind of ease into it. And hopefully over time, you get comfortable with the process, and then we can kind of make it more efficient again, because the efficiency is not going to be there. We're going to be meeting to come up with our recommendation. It still has to go to the committee. Still going to have your input. And then we decide after that too. So most likely, you know, if the committee is very strong, very passionate about a certain direction we need to go, that will most likely be the case going forward. So until we get a momentum going, just wanted your idea on that, or your input.
So I just heard him say that these have already been in the process and awarded, and we've had no input.
On these particular ones, yes. But going forward, we would be involved in all the bid openings.
Okay, and where is that? And is that going to be like a regular meeting for us then, or?
I would guess so. I would want it to be that.
All right.
You know, I think that the highway committee, if you want to be in attendance, it's fine. If you don't want to be, I will be. So, you know, if you want to be at the bid opening, that's fine. If you don't want to, it's not mandatory. But I will be.
I guess at first when Scott asked that, I guess I thought that meant, your response meant that would be at a regular highway meeting, then that would be done, but now it's sounding like it'd be a special meeting. Cause you're saying if you don't
normally-
wanna be there, you don't have to be there, so.
Normally, when the bids have been opened before, it's not been at one of our meetings or
Okay.
it's been, has it even been notified? Pat, go ahead. I know you got, yeah.
I don't mean to interrupt the
No,
discussion, but I think if I can just hopefully clarify what the thought process is. The bid opening and the award are two different things. The bid opening is going to take place, and like Cynthia's mentioning, when we do bid openings right now, they're done at our office or our bigger projects are done remotely online. That bid opening, the packets or the electronic bids are opened. They are read aloud, but there's no action taken. There's nothing to do other than acknowledge that the bids have been opened. Once that happens, then from what I understand, Cynthia and I will meet, discuss these bids. We will formulate a proposal or a recommended direction that will end up on the highway committee agenda for additional discussion.
Mhm.
And then after discussion is heard, a direction and a decision will be made by Ms. Haggard and myself.
I suppose with the bid opening, when you're submitting the bids or you're putting them up for advertisement, you can almost have them correlate somewhat to a timely of the committee meeting. So if it's the first week of the month that the advertisements or the bids are to be submitted or whatever. So so there isn't a big lag in there for people that you have to say, well, we gotta wait 2 or 3 weeks for a committee meeting or whatever.
yeah. Phil, did you have something more?
Well, I just wanna make sure so at the bid opening, that's simply it. They
Yeah.
open it,
All it
okay,
is just-
and the discussion part will take place at a meeting.
Yep.
Okay.
It'll actually come back to the committee too, before the final, but they'll have their recommendation between Pat and the administrator. And then it'll come back and then we'll view it at that time. And then if we need to pick something apart or we have some discussion on it, then it can be addressed after that. Is that correct, Cynthia?
Mr. Chair, yes, so for example, if you look at this bid here, okay? The award actually went to the first vendor here,
Mashuda.
and there was a item on there, right? I think there was it was a penny. Can you get to that? I think it's on the second
Yeah,
page.
it's towards the top, I think.
Yeah, so
Salvage topsoil.
so something that, I'm not savvy, but one thing I can look at are numbers and I go, I kind of look for anomalies and that kind of looked like an anomaly to me, and that was a cent compared to everybody else who was like $1. So I just asked the question, and so hopefully what was that? Oh, so, okay, yeah, no, it's legitimate. So, but again, so I asked the question so when Pat and I are meeting, this is the stuff that we're assembling. And then when we get ready to bring it as a recommendation, because we'll have a recommendation, it's gonna be Pat's driving it. I mean, he's always has. And so we'll come to the committee with a recommendation, but perhaps you have an input, maybe have another item that perhaps we didn't catch, but you still have some say is what I'm saying, because this is a culture shock to take the authority away, but I don't want you to look at it that way, because to me, you still have input. You still have an impact on a decision, even though the authorization lies somewhere else. I don't want you to think that somehow you don't have some say and that you're, anyway.
Scott.
I'm just gonna say, that is not how Mr. Kolowski had proposed it to me. He says, you guys have absolutely no say in this being awarded to whoever or whatnot. This isn't even gonna be, that's why I've asked in these last few committee meetings, how come we didn't get to see the bids or anything? Well, you guys have no say in it, so I said, so why is it even on the agenda?
Yeah. That's true in a statement, but what Cynthia's trying to do is to get us back involved with it. We really don't have any deciding factor in it other than to discriminate on it, you might
Mhm,
say.
mhm.
If there's something that's out of the ordinary or something that we'd have a question on, but ultimately it's in Pat and Cynthia's hands.
Mr. Chair, one other thing that you're going to be provided now as part of this process. So if you look at the bid sheets at the bottom, the total numbers there. What will be disclosed to you going forward is that how does this compare to the budget that we allotted? You know, that, so it's just, it's being, it's, we're hoping to be, more, not that it was not transparent before. I just want everything to be in like four corners so you guys have documents available to you so that when you, when we come forward with a recommendation, and again, Pat's driving this, he's the expert, he's the department head. He's pretty much driving it. I'll just be there asking questions, and hopefully the questions I'm asking are the similar ones that you would ask, and we would already have it addressed by the time we come with a recommendation. Your input is to have some say in the decision. Not, yes, the authorization does lie with us, and actually Pat is what I'm expressing to you now, that I will pretty much go with what Pat wants, and which is what this committee has done in the past. I mean, if Pat has recommended, that's the
Mhm.
direction you've gone. It's never been a problem. So with that, I hope that you see there's not a lot of change, and I still want you to have input. It's valuable that this committee has input. And again, help me deal with this culture change and know that I do value your opinion. I do not want to shut somebody out in this process. But again, the ultimate decision then, once this committee is comfortable with the recommendation, then Pat and I would then move forward with awarding the bid after that.
There's one thing that's unique about, the highway department and solid waste are kind of unique in their own right. And the bottom line ends up differently for these two committees or departments than it would be for some of the other ones.
Mhm.
I mean, obviously other than HHS, we're dealing with a lot more revenue and expenses than some of the other committee or departments. So is any other discussion?
Go ahead. Go ahead. Sure.
Would you, the committee, entertain additional discussion in regards to County Trunk Highway Z? We can talk numbers, we can talk what's going to happen, what it may look like.
I mean, as far as like the bid.
Where we're at. Correct, folks. County Trunk Highway Z, let's talk about the numbers and
What would it matter at this point? I mean, that's what we're getting into. Oh, okay. Give us information.
Go ahead, Pat.
Correct, so, thank you. So in our highway department budget, we had shown 2.3 million. Project cost, come in at 2.9, construction oversight, 324,000. Admin fees, 140,000, that puts us at 3.3 million approximately, and some change. Now there's there's rounding in there, so if I say 3.3 million, it might be 3.4 or something like that, okay? 3,346,000 is where the project come in at, okay? We're over budget. However, though, we were over budget in 24. That's a problem, as we come forward. Now, remember, for us in the room here, how we budget and how the county goes through the budget process. Our project award took place before our 24 budget was even closed. So our highway books weren't closed and we awarded the 2025 project. So that impacted the 2025. It's going to. I guess what I'm trying to say is because the 2024 is over, it's going to impact the 25 budget. So we've done some things to help defer or offset that cost. I think most folks understand or realize that projects, highway projects, any building project, road project, there's a potential for other issues to take place. They're called change orders. It can be a positive, and it could be a negative. Change orders have the potential to happen on County Z. One is in progress right now. And it's to do with the bridge. Specifically, the pile depth is generated based off soil borings and an engineer's calculations. The first two piles that were driven went right past the engineer's estimated depth. Went down to 75 feet.
You pay by the linear feet of pile to go to the ground.
Correct, sir. Yes. Move over, and now we move over to the next pile because there's several on each abutment. Those came back into what's more close to the engineer's estimate of 55 feet, 55 feet in depth. So, however, just for that reason alone, it's going to create a small change order for us. There's going to be a splice charge, and then there's going to be a lineal footage charge, like Supervisor Bork is referencing. Is it going to be $75,000 or $100,000? No, it will not. It's not going to be. But just that item, just what took place, will generate a small change order for us. Change orders such as this and some others in the construction world, you just can't stop. You can't say, no, don't pound that pile any deeper. The resistance factor is not there to support the structure. So it has to be driven down. All I'm trying to infer here is that things happen on construction projects, and they already did here. This was on the north abutment, and this took place. So change orders can impact that project, and they will in a positive and negative way.
Phil, you had a question?
Yeah, a general question. I'm not as experienced at this as some of the veteran committee members here. I'm just wondering, when you, change orders, I realize that takes place and it is. My question is, are most of them, or what's the percentage you would say the change orders that are due to, because of someone's oversight? From when like these contractors, when they're, if they miss something that, and that's what ended up resulting in a change order.
But with the contractor, what they think is really going off the bid sheet of, it tells them how deep the pile's gotta go based on the DOT boring. So the plan shows how many linear feet that they're supposed to pound. And when that hammer hits, they gotta hit that hammer, gotta hit so many times on that pile and not more than so many inches. And if it keeps on going, it's gonna keep going and
Ken, do you have your mic on?
oh, sorry.
If they don't have they take a soil boring out there, the DOT did, and they didn't take one at each place that the pile goes in, so there can be different soils from one side of the bridge to the other, and it's just a fact of Mother Nature. It's no fault of anybody's fault that it goes over, but when they bid it, if you look at the unit price, you can go through there and find what the unit price is for piling, and they'll measure how much piling goes in the ground, and that's what that contractor gets paid for. It isn't hourly charge or anything else. It's just gonna go off of whatever that linear feet of pile that goes in the ground. And maybe on the south side, they might not have to drive as far, and it'll come back. You just don't know from time to time what the
It could average out.
yeah, because it's gotta have the bearing in order to support the bridge.
Yeah.
No, I think I'm good.
Okay, is there anything else, Pat?
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
I would like Kyle to, you want to share with them that schedule that we plan to use going forward to communicate to the committee on the real time of a project? So that you have the change orders, you know, the source of funds at the top, the project, and then any change orders. I want them to see kind of what they can expect to see going forward so that you can see these change orders and how it impacts the total project. And then if the source of funds, like in this last case from 2024, that source of funds, we were anticipating 773,000, but it came in roughly half of that. So that impacts the overall project because you got to find another source to make up that difference. So here's a schedule. I think it's being shared with the clerk. So this is the 2024. Kyle, do you want to kind of walk through what they're going to be looking at here?
Mr. Chair.
Let's go ahead.
Yep. So at the top, you're gonna have the funding sources, the budgeted amount, and then you have the actual amounts listed on the right side there. And if you scroll down further, you're gonna have, this one was two phases of the project. So you're gonna have County Highway G, east to county line, James Peterson and Sons. And it's gonna list the award amount, change orders, the total estimated project cost, and then the actual expenditures once we started paying off their pay applications. And then you're gonna have the same thing with phase two. And then you're gonna have oversight with AECom for both sections of of that project. If you scroll down a little further, Liana. And then at the very bottom, of that little box in yellow there, that's going to be the transfer over to the Highway Enterprise Fund, Fund 700. So all these county trunk highways, all the cost is in Fund 260. So there's a little bit of administration cost associated with it, and then you'll see the total project cost at the bottom.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
So looking at this schedule, you can quickly just, you go to the bottom, you can see, is there a project, what we call overrun? Overrun's not such a bad word, just means that the project expenditures overran what the budget projection was. And then we have to come up, the team here has to come up with where do the source of funds come from to make up the difference in that project overrun? Because we anticipated source of revenue coming in to support the project. And if the source of revenue isn't there, it's got to come from somewhere. So this is a situation which drove the need for that memorandum that Kyle and I worked on to present to the committee today. And do you want to show them XX? That's the next tab. Or Duck Creek? Sorry. Yeah. Sorry. Got too many projects in my head.
Yep. So, Mr. Chair.
Yes.
Yep. So this is kind of the same thing. You have the source of funds on the left side, and then what was actually realized. So we had about $10,000 more in funding sources for that project. And then same thing, you have the who the project was awarded to, the budget amount, award amount, change orders, and then actual expenditures. And then you have construction oversight with AECom, and then the transfer over to the enterprise fund, and then the total project cost down at the bottom. So.
So, Mr. Chair?
Yes, go ahead.
So if the committee is okay with this kind of reporting, let us know. If you're happy with it, we can always change it if you want a little bit more information, but it should be all inclusive here about a project. Oh, go ahead, Pat. Sorry.
I'm not, no, you don't know, apologies whatsoever, and I don't know if now is the appropriate time to have the comment or discussion, but the potential that this may take place of another document? Will this document be replacing the project status sheets?
Mr. Chair?
Yeah.
So for those of you who serve on other committees, there's that project status report, remember? And everybody goes, hey, Kyle, what's going on with the project status report? So that's something that I implemented when I first started here. But what I'm finding is that a lot of the stuff that's in the project status report is in the actual report from your department head. So it's kind of duplicating and it's creating probably more work. I'm going to start looking into potentially the project status report going away, and that you're going to have this kind of reporting available to you now. We're going to start with this committee and kind of go forward, but you may hear this again at another committee level where we're going to probably start getting away with the project status report, especially the department heads who are, like Pat, very good about being very detailed in their reports to the committee that already incorporate the stuff that's in the project status. No determination has been made just yet.
I kind of like this better to me. Scott?
I see in there like the 6-inch paving marking. If the state comes along during the project and says that's what we're gonna need, it's a change order and it costs you money, is the state obligated to chip in any of that?
No.
That's a yes and a no. That's a yes and a no. In this case here, this is County M and this was all county funded project, so no. If it had been an STP project or a federally funded project, the answer would be yes. That question had come up internally here during our discussions, and I can give you a short explanation on 6-inch paint line. Yes, of course, we had paint included in the contract at 4-inch. However, what happened though, be it at the time that the plans were developed and the time that we actually took it out to bid, the federal manual on uniform traffic control devices changed and recommends now 6-inch paint line. We're spraying epoxy paint here, and I took the opportunity, I guess, to go ahead and convert us right to 6-inch paint now. So we did spray 6-inch epoxy on County M. In this case here, no, there was no federal help or subsidy. If it had been on, say, example, County Z out in by the park, the answer would have been yes, because there's federal funds there. This case on M here, no. So what you're looking at, or what the cost difference is what the increase to go from 6-inch paint line. They still got to drive it, right? They still got to spray it, but there's more materials that be put down, more paint, more beads. So yes, it did go up some.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
So with these detailed reports, if you have a project overrun, the next part will be where does it come from? And that will be disclosed as well, some ideas. You guys have mentioned something about the quarry and such, where we had a discussion about that too. When I say we, I'm talking about Pat and I and others, about what is the proper use of those funds, and is there a policy already in place that, you know, a lot of this stuff predates even Pat, you know, about what the use of the quarry funds are, or the what was the other one, mechanical stuff. But anyway, so you may see some policies coming forward now, so that you guys set, remember your policy making, you set the parameters of use of funds, as long as our auditors, you know, we're gonna already talk to the auditors to make sure an enterprise fund can give money to the, like, operating fund. We'll have that all set to say, the auditors are on board with this. What is the committee's pleasure? And then you guys set the policy on the use of the quarry funds and such. And, you know, do you want a reserve in there? And so you can be expecting a couple policies coming forward in the near future to define the use. If it hasn't already been set, we're still trying to hunt down stuff on that.
Anything else? Now we'll move on to the next item. County Highway XX, Columbia County line to State Highway 23 bid and award. Pat?
Mr. Chair, so this is very similar. If you were to look at my report, I put together a chronological list of events that took place. We advertised in May, opened the bids, mid-May. Bid results were shared with the committee at that time. I met with the administrator a week later on the 28th. We executed the AECom construction oversight agreement in June. Signed the contract with DL Gasser in June. Project is set to begin in August with DL Gasser. Now that's for Double X, the south part of the county. But money dollar wise, we were showing $375,000. The bid, DL Gasser come in at $183,700. Construction oversight estimated at $50,000. Admin fee estimated at $10,000, so we're right around that $245,000 mark. However, on this project here, we have some LREP funds as well. So when you take, I believe our LREP request is going to be about $112,000. So that's going to lower our cost or our portion of the project to just over $100,000, leaving us some funds that we can use elsewhere. For example, back over on that previous project, County Z, we just discussed. So that's the events of Double X.
Any discussion?
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
So just to let the committee know, these are two projects that were awarded without committee input. Going forward, that is not going to be the case. You are going to have input.
Okay. Next item, 2025 truck conversion, Pat.
Yes, Mr. Chair. Truck conversion, this was shown in our 2025 asset replacement schedule that we put together that was approved. Back in January, we solicited quotes for this truck conversion, which we received. And then we got a few months there as we were in winter, and we did actually meet with the administrator back on May. And then most recently here, we did confirm that we were going to move forward with the truck conversion. So that is in progress, or our build date is held for us now with the builder. The equipment has been ordered. Going back to the numbers, the hows and what's in our asset replacement schedule, we showed it at 150,000. That was last year. That was over a year ago now. The proposal that we got from the builder was at 170,000, actually shown on the screen here now. So that is over 20,000 more than what we had anticipated. We use money, and how the highway bill, where we pay for these items out of, is what we refer to as our machinery account. The first discussion I had, that we had, our machinery account at that time had just about 801 or 802,000 in it. Last check on our machinery account had 872,000 in it. So yes, we do have the funds to do this truck conversion. And like I had mentioned, it has been executed. And what we're talking about on a truck conversion is removing the winter maintenance equipment that's going to be on that vehicle. And we put it's the same unit that we have on our other two trucks. It's called the Storm Extreme. The Storm Extreme unit carries 1,700 gallons of salt brine and about 6-7 ton of rock salt. And the reasoning or the philosophy, the thought process behind this is that brining or that agitation process, even if we have to use rock salt, it doesn't come out in a rock form. It's more of a oatmeal type consistency that just kind of sticks to the road and it doesn't bounce. Keeping the rock salt, the material on the road and getting the full benefit from that. So that's the reasoning and the purpose behind what we're doing here. This is not a brand new truck. This is just the storm winter maintenance equipment that we're working on. So So that truck will be built in October. It'll be back to us for this season.
Scott?
I vaguely remember this, it says good through 2/20/25, net 30 days. Was that the old amount or the amount now? And was there any other one? I don't think there is anybody else that, put in bids, was there?
Well, this is kind of, I don't want to use the term, I guess I'll use the term sole source or the only vendor. This is the only vendor that has or is building a piece of equipment of this size with this capability. So this vendor, Henderson, is the only vendor that we are able to get that volume on our trucks. And in regards to the dates on the the quote provided, we have talked with the vendor multiple times, and yes, those numbers are still good. He's not going to increase them as of today. He has not, because of the time lapse, he's not looking to increase our cost. Now,
Okay.
remember what happened to us last time? We did a truck build. Our truck got there and we had a bad valve body. So the valve body is what runs everything hydraulic on the truck. Yeah, we actually were just talking about this process today. It's our intent to take our vehicle. We're gonna try to do some live video and some pictures. Get that stuff over to the truck builder so they can look at this valve body to make sure it's stable and not deteriorated to the point where it needs to be replaced also. If it is deteriorated to the point where it needs to be replaced, that in itself could cause delay. Valve bodies of that size are not just sitting on the shelf anymore.
Scott?
Is there possibly another truck that we could use besides that one?
Yes, we have two vehicles that we are considering for this truck build, and we're going to look at both of those valve bodies. But with saying that, if we identify that one of the valve bodies is bad, it's going to likely have to be replaced either way at some point.
Yeah.
But yeah, we have.
Well, would that slow up the process? You could probably put the one in first and then the other one.
Yeah, correct. Correct.
Any other questions? And we'll move on to the next one, 2024 financial analysis. Kyle?
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Yep.
So hopefully everybody had a chance to read the memo. So at last month, the highway annual report was presented to this committee and reflected that the 260 fund had a negative cash balance. So we wanted to look into some of the factors as to why that was. One of the factors is project overruns. That was roughly $476,000 in project overruns. And then receivables, we had about $580,000 in grants that we had not yet received by year end. So those are two of the primary factors impacting why cash was negative, I think $1.1 million roughly. And then there's also factors that impact the fund balance. The fund balance also was negative as well. There was a planned spend down to complete County Trunk Highway M. If everyone recalls that, we plan to spend some of the highway fund balance for that. And then also project overruns as well, impact the fund balance. So the plan, as you can see in the memo, is to help with covering this negative cash balance is to forego County Trunk Highway J and O seal coating. So if there's any questions on the memo, or if Pat wants to touch on anything I missed.
Scott?
I did look at it and then I looked on the one that, for the upcoming years. Maybe it's just my oversight, but where are we putting J and O if we're not gonna do those two? I didn't see them, I guess, on the schedule.
Mr. Chair.
Yeah, Pat?
Yeah, those are going to, so what we're talking about is two seal coating products, County Choke J, County Choke O. They're gonna have to be, they will have to be deferred to an alternate year. I will have to work those back into our, our process or our improvement schedule going forward, 26, 27, 28, 29. So you likely see those again, coming to you during budget time.
Can you keep scrolling down? There was a schedule of what roads we're doing in the packet.
I think that's the next thing.
There's a,
Yeah.
So what you're saying is these numbers aren't accurate, that J and O would have to go in there somewhere. Oh, there it is in
White.
2025 in the white. It's just not figured in there yet.
Right now, they weren't done, so they'll have to get moved down somewhere.
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
So yeah, what this schedule here, what I was trying to show, and I grayed those out or highlighted them or made them a different color that stood out. Those are the two projects that we deferred. And what you're looking at is our 2025 capital improvement schedule here. What we will have to do, this year, coming up here soon, we're going to, well, kind of already started doing it a little bit. We're gonna have to move those roads down, so our first year now will be 26, and I'm going to have to build that up with the funds that we have available. If they fit into the next, 26, we can fit them in there. Will something else move ahead of those? It's possible. Yeah, it's definitely possible something will move ahead of J or O. There's many I wish I could seal coat, but we can only do so much. You are correct. They will get cycled down and they will have to be fit into the going forwards schedule.
Again, as the schedule goes forward, obviously, since we changed up the construction out there on Z, from what road to what road, it's kind of change, is that changing some? Cause like some of them are from Edgewood to Ember and different things, so those will probably get changed accordingly where.
Definitely a lot of change forthcoming in highway improvement projects. I'm not sure if we're quite there yet. I guess we're getting close, but what item are we on, Mr. Chair?
We must be on capital improvement. Must be, that's where I'm guessing, right?
I didn't hear you, Pat.
What item are we on specifically? I can.
I'm
talk-
actually on, we were on a financial analysis of 2024, but we got moved into the update stuff. Ironically,
Well, I think it's because it was in his report.
yeah. You have anything more on that update, Pat?
I have more to add. I just don't want to
Yeah,
talk out of position here too
yeah,
much.
let's bring it on.
You want to talk about?
Yeah,
Okay,
the
so
capital
I can-
improvement request stuff.
Sure. So like I mentioned, those projects are what we deferred. We will I'm gonna hash this over again, but we will rework our capital improvement schedule here. It'll look different than this, I assure you. What the next schedule, and Mr. Supervisor Bork just mentioned it, our projects that we are going to show will be different than what's currently listed here because we have done some different activities.
Does that kind of move into what our next item is in 26 priorities? So what are your priorities for
You ready?
26? You
For
might as
26?
well. I mean, we're there.
Want to have some 26?
I-
discussion?
I just got one question. I think I know the answer, but why is that Z project, if you could pull that up, have a zero cost on it? On the total cost? The county ZF to 21.
For the seal coating.
Yeah, it looks to me, that's probably my clerical error, Mr.
Oh,
Pease, of
okay.
all that is. We did it, in our budget process, it was not missed though. This sheet is something that I do, Brooke and I will be working on.
I didn't add up all the totals, but
I
okay,
understand what you're saying.
All
I
right.
see it too.
that was just my only question.
Yeah. Okay, now you can move into priorities.
All right. Uh, So 26, priorities, 26 discussion. What, I guess what I'm looking for is maybe some direction on what you would like to see the highway department, proceed with. As I mentioned to you before, we were over budget in 24 and that's been well documented and stated, about 475,000, I believe it is. Right in that neighborhood. 476. That impacted our 25. We don't have access to 476,000 because we are going to use a portion of our 25 to catch up. However, we did defer some projects to help offset that. What I'm looking at is our 26 and thinking about what you would want to do for a project, if any at all. The next STP cycle is open, and the STP cycle is the federal grant program. It's the 80% federal funds, 20% local funds. The projects that we've done under that program are County Z from Edgewood up to F. That was a federal project. The other project that we recently did was County Z from Alpine to the Wood County line. Those are both STP projects, 80% federal, 20% local. The dollar amount on those projects were just around-ish 3.5 million range out the construction costs. Okay, 3.5 million-ish. Our County Z balance, that what we have left on County Z right now is from the Duck Creek Bridge, so that's just south of County H, up to Edgewood Avenue. A little over 4 miles. That's probably putting us in, so there's no, within that segment, we don't have a bridge. We do have a waterway culvert. We have a little bit of curb. Nothing really abnormal for contractors, for construction. But what I'm thinking, or what I'm wondering is, at over 4 miles, probably what,
Close to 5 million.
okay, that was close to 5 million. I don't know is that we're going to be fortunate or lucky enough to get an STP award at $5 million. We haven't been.
You'd have to split it. But then you're shutting that road down for 2 more years.
The first funding opportunity for STP, if we get a project, that's if we get a project, is 27, not 26. 27 is the first funding year. So, estimated in this room today, probably pretty darn close, 5 million-ish. Little bit bigger project, so we'll probably get some competition going with some of the bigger grading guys. But will we get an STP project? I don't have the answer for that today. My gut feeling is I wouldn't hold your breath. because I've been in the DOT's office and I've sat there with large projects. Remember at one time County Z was these 9-mile segments. And the DOT has basically told me, you're not going to get a project that size. You're gonna have to, quarter it up. Quarter it up. I don't want to quarter it up. We ended up putting it in thirds though. Then we started getting some success in the program. I guess I'm looking for a few thought processes on what you would like to see in 26. One thought process would be to pick off a segment of County Z and build it in with internal funds. I do have, the county has access to some smaller portions of LRIP funding. It's not gonna be the $1 million, or it's not gonna be the $750,000. It's going to be smaller dollar amounts. But that basically would be a small project, probably about, a mile. About it.
Just my thoughts don't matter one way or the other, but just my opinion on it is when you start, I know everybody wants to do a construction project every year, but you start going down to those mile projects and trying to have the county pay for them. Do you, hold off on a construction next year and you double up those funds and, wait a year or 2 years till you have enough to do that full section if you don't get that STP grant? Cause, otherwise every bid you're doing, you're looking at $200,000 worth of mobilization just to come in for each project every year.
Yeah.
And I know the price of the project's gonna go up every year. There ain't nothing that we can do about that. But it ain't the cost of materials to spend $200,000 a year just to mobilize for that project. It's just a thought. I don't, whether it's right or wrong, but those are the things I look at and like Pat says, you get a bigger project, you're gonna get maybe a little more competition than 4 contractors here that come in for it, but just for conversation, I guess.
Scott,
Hasn't it been in the past too, if you hold off a few years, they're more generous to give you one than if you try and put in for one every year?
We submit every STP cycle. Every time the program opens, we've submitted a project. We did really well on 2. On one of the cycles, we did not get an award. We did not get a project. So we submit every time it's open. And I think I guess I shouldn't say that. Adams County will submit every time. You just can't get a better better opportunity than 80% funding. But I was going to say, I think most every county does, but I caution, I don't believe that to be true.
Cause like if you can still submit for those and then plan, hope for an award or plan for, if we gotta go it alone, I guess, then you gotta have the cash. That just to go out to do a mile or mile and a half, then like I says, then it's 2 or 3 years, you're shutting down Z again.
if you apply for one of them STP grants and you get denied the following year, do you have any preference points to come back with? If you did it again the following year? You have a better chance of getting it then, or?
Well, I think the project itself will be re-ranked.
Yeah,
Your entitlement, so each county has an entitlement balance that will change.
yeah.
Which with each fiscal year for the state. It really just comes down to how they rank the projects, and
Yeah,
And we have no say over, there's nothing that we can do. whether you say it's tourism or agricultural or whatever.
You know, we're
They,
gonna,
they do the ranking, we don't do it.
we're gonna try and hit all those hot buttons when I submit the application, you know,
Yep.
we're gonna hit the tourism, we're gonna hit the the bike and ped paths, we're gonna, you know, we're gonna hit the ag use that takes place out there, there's still ag there. We're gonna try to hit all those buttons when we submit our application. And, the other thing that I always do, you know, I'm gonna say, you know, Adams County, we have, constructed X miles with 2 structures south of this. We have a previous STP project that we're connecting to. We would like you to be a partner with us to finish this project and complete this segment to County Z. So, yeah, when that comes, we punch all those nice buttons for folks ranking the applications. We were talking about construction. We still are. Mention about monies, carryover. You know, I am not, I will do my best to prepare whatever direction, is thought here. And I think we still got some time here, but, carrying money over, I'll do what you direct me to do.
Mr. Chair.
Yes. Kyle.
I do also want to point out, we're looking at general transportation aids too. Cause not like deferring projects could potentially have an impact on general transportation aids because they look back at last 6 years of, your projects or your highway spending to determine the general transportation aids. We're gonna be looking further into general transportation aids and how they actually do calculate that, but essentially it's, what's that? Oh, you know, you do it. Okay. So, yeah, essentially there's a cost pool though for
Yeah.
throughout the entire state on how they allocate it out to all the counties. So it could have an impact by deferring projects.
Yeah. Larry? Larry, use the mic, please. I know you don't want to.
I agree with Ken, to the point that we shouldn't close the road down and do a mile a year. If we can do it in 2 or 3 years and do it all, people are gonna be upset until then, but, if we can save some money, although we probably won't, the 200,000 be used up in higher prices, just like anything.
The only other option would be to do the whole thing and do a bond on it. Kind of like what we did with some of that on M. I know Kyle's back there shaking his head, but
Remember, it takes 3/4 of a vote.
yeah,
So,
there's stipulations to that too.
so, Mr. Chair, just gonna kind of offer, Kyle and I are gonna be meeting with Pat and Brooke about these projects because like he mentioned, that 6-year average, it's in the formula. So you don't want to take it to 0 1 year, or really drop it down. You want to almost keep it level or higher, just let it keep growing. But we have to come up with the money to be able to do that in case the funding isn't there for projects. So Kyle and I have been kind of mulling this over for about a week about where these funds could potentially come from. We have some ideas. We're going to share that with Pat later. Sorry, I'm just surprising you now, Pat, but hopefully maybe we can do bigger size projects and have funding. Other sources, it's called creative financing so that we don't have to actually go into debt. It's called creative financing. We're going to try to find the funds to use. And then if we can keep that up for 3 years, then we're driving that average way up, that potentially the dependence on the levy could drop a little bit on highway. If we can get right, Kyle, isn't that what we're trying to, that's the plan. Whether it'll work, I don't know. We need to bounce it off Pat and Brooke. So just so you know, that our gears are churning.
Mr. Chair, one more comment.
Yes, Pat.
Highway Department, Adams County residents, we've been extremely fortunate on what we've been able to reconstruct for the folks who reside here and who use our highways. I understand, Mr. Bork's, thought process. My thoughts land very near, Supervisor Ford's thoughts. But the reality of this and what historically we have been doing and how we're able to do what we've done. Remember when we started County M, we did 1 mile. And then the next year we did another 1.5 miles because we had some funds available and we stretched it out. Then we got to a point where you mean to tell me we're gonna go down the entire length of County M 1.5 miles at a time? Yes, that was what we have funds available to construct. When you back up, we gotta back up several years, many years. County Trunk Highway G, County P, the bulk of County Z, there was very opportune and very gracious admin finance committee county board that provided us with a large sum of money that completed those projects. Those were not just done out of highway funds. There's no way that took place. So through you folks, through admin finance, through the county board, that's how those roads got completed. When we're left to do things within the means that we have at the highway through our allocations, we're looking at projects of 1 to 1.5 miles. That's it. Anything beyond that is not attainable within our budget.
So are we, I mean, we give a little info, but we need more info back from you guys on the different, road fundings and what the admin finance or anybody else or different funding sources before we really, right?
Well, me too.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
isn't a problem though that you could run up against when that LRIP has to be actually put in?
So our LRIP, the LRIP program has multiple components, and I'm just going to name them quickly. There's CHI-D, there's CHI-S, and there's CHI. There's 3 different components to it. The CHI-D gets to be, the CHI-D and the CHI-S are the most restrictive, and they really don't want you reallocating those funds. I can do it. I just got to go back to our region and have the funds redirected. So I guess what I'm saying is that if I today or tomorrow fill out my application for a CHI-D project, and that's the CHI-D project's going to be about $470,000 is what we will receive. It probably went up a little bit now with the new budget. Say I fill it out for County J. Say I fill it out for County J. We decide that we want to build County Z with internal funds, and we need a few more dollars. I can move that CHI-D money down to County Z. I've had to recently do that. That's not abnormal. Yes, the next LRIP cycle, the local road improvement program cycle, if there's any truth to it, is in theory supposedly going to be released sometime late September. That's when we'll know what our allocations are for the LRIP program. Now, does that help a little bit? Yeah, we got that.
Okay, is there anything else? Now we can move on. Kyle, did you have anything else to add to? No. Move on to reports. I think we've been over the project status report unless you got something else you wanna hit on. Highway Department operations.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
I'll make one comment in regards to the project status report. We did provide some updated numbers in there, however, they're not complete yet, okay? There's some seal coating costs that went in there. We do not have all of our bills in for seal coating yet, so that is not a final number up on that screen. Everybody, that's not a complete,
Yeah.
we will get bills from others yet. Let's see, yeah, it's not complete, okay? I'll move on quick if you like, I'll try to be expedited here if you prefer. As I mentioned before, this hasn't changed. County J Bridge, that's a late start. It's a anticipated September start, so it's after Labor Day. Double X, we've kind of talked this one side and down the other. That's a later start. Sometime in August is what they've indicated to us. Now that is a project that was awarded to DL Gasser, and we discussed that here. And here's something though that does fall into the realm of what we've been discussing here, and that is County Z from the White Creek Bridge, no, Duck Creek, from the Duck Creek Bridge up to Edgewood Avenue. Right now, we have a design agreement with our consultant to refresh that set of plans. I can have that slowed down. I can have it, broke apart. So I guess I can do a couple different things with the agreement. If we're not going to do a project next year, I might need to tell them to really slow down. But if we want to have something, obviously it sounds like maybe, I don't know, I guess we got to have some more discussion here within the county as to how we want to move forward. But that agreement is in place. They are kind of waiting for some feedback from me on how Adams County is thinking about what the project might look. Is it going to get broken two? Is it going to be 1.2 miles? Is it going to be the whole thing? So they're kind of waiting for a little bit of feedback. Now, there are things they can work on, and they are, but how they want to quantify it and how they want to break it, how we want to break it apart, that they are waiting for from us. So, but that agreement is in place. They are refreshing that set of plans. Our building project out at the highway department, that's for the most part complete. I guess I skipped ahead and missed my picture here, but our wainscoting project is complete except for the punch list items. The punch list items are really small. Excuse me, our wainscoting project has weep holes in it. They need to place mesh, a stainless steel mesh or a fiber mesh in those weep holes to keep the bugs from getting in the weep holes. There's a crack in the concrete. They got to, seal the crack. They agreed to do that. Concrete does crack though. I guarantee you that. Nonetheless, they are going to seal the crack. There is a couple spalled areas on the existing concrete. So what I mean by that is the concrete for the building, there were a couple spalled areas that popped out during removals. They need to clean those out and repair and patch those. So a couple small items that they need to tend to and correct. Yeah, and then a few comments in regards to mowing. We are mowing. Our mowers are out. Currently now today we have 2 mowers on the county, and 1 is operating on a state here south of town. I'd say we probably actually only have 2-3 days of mowing left, and then our first round of mowing will be complete. Couple comments in regards to equipment. We've kind of talked about equipment a little bit. A few things happened to us in a little bit bigger size. We have a grader out there. It's number 392. We call it grader 392. It's the newer of the 2. The ECM board, that's basically the brain of the machine, went out. We had to replace that. Ride control on one of our loaders went out. That also we opted to repair and replace as well. So a little bit higher dollar items. And then we also did on Monday, started our new mechanic out by us.
Do you have anything else?
I, unless we have questions, I don't.
No. Anybody have any questions? Not, next meeting date will be August 14th. If anybody has any agenda items that they want to get brought forth, let me know or Pat know, and we'll try and get them on. With that, I'll declare the meeting adjourned.